Today we're going to do take a sign and we're going to change it to a summer theme. So it's like Easter and we're going to change it to summer. So what you'll need for this is you'll need some plaster of Paris, you'll need some multi-purpose paint, a brush, and some shells. Well, what I used for it anyway, not what you'll need for it. But if you hunt something and you decide to do something similar to this, this one is one of those that's just like the what do you call it? What is that board? Anyway, it's the cheap board, and I picked it up from Hobby Lobby. But you could do something similar with a piece if you find something or have something around the house. I'm hoping that I can inspire you to upcycle something that you have around the house. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna do the Easter, change this Easter thing into something summer. I've got my paint, and I'm just choosing something that I like for the background, and I wanted to kind of stick with the colors, but it landed up I just went with one color. And then I'm going to use these for my letters. I kind of mix those together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do summer, S-U-M-M-E-R, and it's a shame that I had to cover up the ER, but you know, that's the way it is, because I can't draw like that. So I'm just going to take that off of there and do it. So I'm mixing my paint, and when I mix the paint, I'm going to use a couple of teaspoons of plaster of Paris, and I'm going to use about 12 tablespoons of paint to like 2 teaspoons or 1 teaspoon. You can use 1 since I'm using the multi-purpose paint. Now if I wasn't using the multi-purpose paint, I might use, I probably still use just a couple of teaspoons, but I could probably get away with 1 teaspoon is what I'm trying to say with the multi-purpose paint, because it sticks pretty good. But I just want to add that little bit of extra plaster of Paris just to make sure it sticks, because it makes chalk paint and then it really sticks good. You can also, there's other recipes you can use, and it's really good too. There's a couple of different ones, and I painted a couple of coats of paint. Each time I added a little bit of white to it, and I didn't cover it all the way. I left some of it undone. I wanted to make it look a little bit like, I don't know, I didn't actually like make it look like sand, but it kind of give it the effect of something beachy, or I don't know, it just felt beachy to me with doing the brushing like that and leaving a little bit undone, or peeking through, you know. It's shows the other color, and it really looks good. And I just brushed it. I went down to the edge. I didn't cover my base because I liked the way the base looked, and especially when I was done with the paint, it looked really good with that. And like I said, each time I added more white to my paint. So I really didn't have to add any more plaster of Paris. I just added paint to it. So I took the multi-purpose white and added it and just went up with it and left it kind of peeking through. So each layer had a little bit more of the colors. And see how it looks when it's dry. It has a flat surface because that chalk paint makes it really flat, but it just kind of looks like sand that's not been walked on yet or something. It's, I don't know, kind of cool look. And I'm just dry brushing a little bit of my last coat. I think I did about 4 coats on this. I did the first base coat, and then each time I added a little bit of white in it, and so it kind of made it look, and it made it look like it's you know, just like sand. It kind of felt like sand, but the last one I did just dry brushing. And then I did freehanded my letters, which were really I'm not a good freehander at all. It's really bad, and my hand was in the way a lot of the time. I'm sorry about that. But I'm not a really good freehander, so I thought about using stencils from Walmart, but I never did get any, so I just freehanded it. It looked like water. It turned out really cute. But it probably could have been cuter. I'll admit my handwriting is really bad, but I thought, well, I'll just do it and see, and if it turns out bad, I'll just paint right over it, because that's how I kind of roll. You can always paint back over it. But it turned out okay. And I just put that on there, and then I went back and fattened my letters up a little bit. And summertime's kind of, I don't know, it kind of give it the loose feel, like, like it's not really structured, which, summertime's kind of has that feeling. So I just kind of filled it in really good, made those letters fatter, and then I'll let that dry between the coats, so that, it'll be ready to put the other. I'm going to put a little white on top of that afterwards. Now I'm going to put my rope on, and I got the Dollar Tree rope, and you see my Dollar Tree shells, and I'm just going to snip the end off of that rope and put that on start at the base there. And I'm just going to take my glue gun and mold that to a little like it was before. I wish the Dollar Tree would like glue those instead of using tape, but I guess that's the cheaper, but I wanted to make it kind of like it was before, where it was all together. So I just kind of mold it, and be careful, because that glue gun, I got a new glue gun, and it burns the crap out of my fingers. And you'll just put that on there. And just glue. Start with that edge and make sure that's down pretty good. And then you're going to go back and start work. Once you have that in place, you don't tug on it too much, because it'll pull it right off, but you just kind of work it up. And the thing about the glue gun is you have it's 2 minutes till it dries, but you have about 30 seconds you can rework it. Does that make sense? So you have a little bit of time to rework it before it because it can still be where it's like still loose, but if you work it at some point, it will come off. So it can be like when it gets to like a chewing gum phase, you don't want to rework it, because it will pop off. Glue guns are so funny about that, but you want to make sure that it's still really, really loose while you're working with it. So you have about a 30-second window, and after that, it will pop off if you rework it. And then about 2 minutes it's dry, maybe 3, but usually 2. It doesn't take too long for it to dry. 3 minutes it's solid. Sometimes it'll turn that white color depending on the glue gun or the glue stick you're using. And you want to make sure you make that work for you. You don't let that glue gun take over. You make sure it works for you. Put that glue gun in its place, because glue guns, they kind of have a mind of their own. You have to just make it work for you. Because you can bend it, and it's kind of like clay. You can make it work. See how I'm pushing it down in that corner? I want it to work for me. And then I'm going to go down the side, and I'm going to do the same thing with the end of it. When I get this pushed down, I'm going to take that end. And you may want to stop right there for a second and let that dry for just a minute if you're afraid you're going to pull it back up. But I give it just a few seconds, and then I went back and trimmed it. See how I trimmed it really close. And you may want to go ahead and fit it and trim it before you start gluing too, because working with a glue gun, you kind of have to. you know, you kind of have to work with one to kind of get used to working with it, because it's not like, you know, glue that you set aside and dry, and it's not, it's more convenient, but it's also, it's fussy. It's really fussy. So you have to kind of, you know, work with it. And then I'm going to do my shells, and I'm going to fill those little shells up with glue. And I'm just placing them in different places. You know, it's just like wherever, you know, I feel like they need to be. I just kind of stand back and look at it and then place the shells. But I want to make sure that there's a good bit of glue on there. And you could even use your E2000 or 6000 or whatever that glue's called. You could use a little dab of that with it. I didn't on this particular project, because I really have hopes for doing it for Christmas, doing an Noel, Noel in the center of it, redoing this particular piece for my friend, so she can, because she puts it on her little bar in her kitchen. And so I told her, I said, I can redo it for Christmas. We laughed about that. But anyway, you just put them little shells. See, that one's broken. You know, don't want to use that. And make sure you check your bag at the Dollar Tree when you're getting it. Look through it real. I mean, you know, you can't pull it apart open, but you can still see it's clear. See how it's a clear bag? Check, because some of those shells are really broken, and you don't want to get a broken up bag. And you know how everything gets kind of, I mean, you know, they sling stuff around at the Dollar Tree and set stuff on it, you know. But I love my Dollar Tree. I love my Dollar Tree. So you just want to make sure you don't get broken shells. Just keep on gluing them wherever you think they need to be. You can't go wrong, and you can always add a little bit more if you feel like, oh, it's not balanced. I thought about those beads, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So I added smaller little shells that I got from the Dollar Tree, because I like the way those little shells and the whole white beige theme, you know, kind of together. I didn't, the glass, I just didn't think it felt right. And I just kept gluing shells. I mean, I just would stand back and say, okay, where does the shell need to be? You know, just keep gluing them and gluing them. And it took me a while to place them, but I just, you know, just every so often I would kind of just put one until I got to here. And I kind of liked the way that looked. I kind of was like, it's getting there. And I just, like I said, I just kept looking at it and deciding where, and adding little shells together. I grouped them in threes. You know, you want to, anytime you do anything, you want to do 1, 3, 5, or 7. You don't want to put, unless you're doing it symmetrically, like if you're doing 2 of something. But I generally, as a general rule, I try to put 1, 3, 5, or 7 together when I do stuff, because it just looks more, it looks more like nature is more random, I guess. Getting all my little glue fur off. And see how it's coming together now. So I want to put a little highlight on that summertime thing. I want to make it shimmer like water. So I'm going to put a little bit of paint on top of that summer thing. So I'm going to get my paint out, and I'm just going to add just a little bit of white to that. Not much. I just want it to look like it's water. And I had to lay it down to do it. Just very gently putting just and it's kind of dry brushed. I'll have to do a video on dry brushing. I paint like portraits and stuff like that, dogs and portraits and kids and all kinds of stuff. So I'll do a painting thing about dry brushing in a future video, so I can kind of teach y'all how to dry brush. Dry brushing is extremely important in any craft you do. Dry brushing is one of the main things. I mean, every portrait or picture I've ever done, dry brushing is in the end of it. So it's an extremely good technique to know that, and how not to burn yourself with a hot glue gun, because my fingers have no skin on the end of them. And I thought it turned out really cute with that on there. It took away all my ugly handwriting. I was like, hey, this works. Looks so good compared to what it did. That really made it look better. I was really pleased with it after that, because I think it gave it something that made it look more decent. My handwriting, it's terrible. But it was a really fun project, and Peggy loved it. That's my friend she gets a lot of my stuff. Her and my mom get a lot of my stuff. My mom sells it, but she loved it. She's gonna put it on her bar in her kitchen. So she liked it really good. It turned out cute. And it was one of those things where I just wanted to upcycle something. You could do this on a lot of different things. You could do this on probably a canvas. It would be cute on a canvas. Just write summer on the, maybe a longer canvas. One that's not so square, but, long. That would be really cute. Just hang it up and use it for summer. And there it is, summer. Summer's here, yay!